What is the absolute best piece of equipment for any given exercise, specifically in a home gym? In this series, I'm going to answer exactly that, with the only rule being no commercial equipment. And we're going to kick things off with the lateral raise. Let's go. This video is brought to you by GymSmith, my free 3D home gym building app meant for anyone trying to optimize their training space. Map out your actual room, browse thousands of pieces of brand name equipment, place true to scale 3D models in your gym, and walk through your layout to see exactly what it feels like. GymSmith analyzes your setup based on your goals, shows you what's missing, and tells you what equipment piece to add next. All of this is completely free at hypertrofit.com/GymSmith. What's up guys, Kyle with hypertrofit.com, the best place to design your home gym and develop your training program. The intent of this series is to really help you design and plan out your home gym ahead of time. The two biggest constraints in any home gym build are space, number one, and budget, number two, and understanding the degrees of improvement that you can make in various exercises depending on how much of those two that you have. In a lot of cases, you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck with a few different pieces of equipment. And then if you have the opportunity to, you have the space and the budget for it, you can make some upgrades where it really counts. And that's exactly what I plan to share with you here. We're going to start with the lateral raise because this is an exercise that pretty much every home gym has out of the box. If you have a pair of dumbbells, a pair of resistance bands, you can do lateral raises and you can do them quite well. We're going to take a look at a handful of different options, weigh the pros and cons, and at the end I'm going to tell you what I think the absolute best options are and how you should move forward depending on your budget and your space. The first variation we're going to look at is the dumbbell lateral raise. This is the absolute most classic variation and arguably the most bang for your buck. Just about every home gym in existence has a pair of dumbbells, which means that you can do these right away. They don't require a lot of weight. You don't need a huge heavy dumbbell set. Even the most basic of adjustable dumbbell sets that start at like 5 to 50 pounds is going to have every weight that you're really going to need for this, and you're going to be able to do this exercise perfectly. This is a great exercise. You really honestly don't need more than this. The only negative to a dumbbell lateral raise is that you don't have much tension at the bottom or the top of the movement if you're really trying to extend the range of motion. Through the mid-range and up to shoulder height is where the dumbbell is going to be the hardest and the heaviest because you are directly fighting gravity. As that angle starts to decrease towards the hips or above that shoulder line, then that's where the amount of resistance starts to drop. Knowing that, you can still perform these quite well. You can do hanging variations to hit different angles of your shoulder depending on what you're trying to get out of it. At the end of the day, the dumbbell lateral raise is going to be incredibly effective, and if you don't want to prioritize building your delts with specialized equipment, this is really all that you need. The second variation that we're going to look at is the band lateral raise. Again, another very easy addition to any home gym. Resistance bands are great for lateral raises because they provide constant tension throughout the movement, something that the dumbbell isn't quite as good for. Now, where there are drawbacks to the band is that as you continue to extend that band through its range of motion, it's going to continue to get harder. And with the lateral raise being focused on smaller muscle groups that don't really require a lot of weight, that means that you're going to be pretty limited in how much you can extend your progress with these. You're not going to be able to use very heavy bands, and you really need to monitor how close or how far away from the anchor point that you are to keep your progress consistent. The third option we're going to look at is the Landmine lateral raise, and this is a lesser known variant, but it's incredibly effective and very useful given the tools that most home gyms already have. Most of the time you're already going to have a barbell, and if you have a power rack and don't have a landmine, you need to get one because landmines unlock tons of different exercises. So provided you have those two things, you don't need extra equipment, and now you can unlock a new variation of the lateral raise. The landmine variant is an arcing movement that mimics the path that your arm takes when rotating around the shoulder joint, which feels really nice. This is a great exercise that can be progressively overloaded just like a dumbbell. The only downside to this variant is the starting weight being fairly heavy, with an empty bar being 45 pounds. Now granted, you're not lifting the entirety of that bar, and you can start with lesser weight if you have a shorter bar or a woman's bar, an easy bar, something like that. But if you're able to set this up and the starting weight isn't too much for you, this is a fantastic movement to mix in and hit your delts from a different angle than you would with a dumbbell or a band. The fourth variant is a cable lateral raise, something that you can do with a functional trainer or any sort of cable tower. And this is one of the best variations of this movement because it combines a lot of the great things of the ones we've just talked about. The cable lateral raise has an amazing resistance profile because you start at the beginning with just as much tension as you do at the top, and you keep that consistent throughout the motion. Whereas with a band, it's going to continue to get harder and there's no way around that. With the cable, the resistance is the same at the start as it is at the top. Another benefit is that you have very simple weight jumps and you can see your progression over time. This makes progressive overload much simpler than a band. You don't necessarily have to worry about where you're standing relative to the anchor point. You just want to make sure that it's consistently set at the same height so that your angle of rotation is the same each and every time. Cable lateral raises also benefit from the ability to add different attachments. A simple D handle is great, but you can also mix in various attachments that take your hands completely out of it. Something as simple as a wrist or an ankle cuff can be slipped around your wrist, and now instead of having any sort of hand movement involved, you can simply raise and lower the arm at the elbow and feel your delt doing all of the work. It takes your forearm completely out of it and focuses entirely on the delt, which is exactly what you want out of this movement. The fifth and final variation that we're going to discuss today is the Multiflight lateral raise. This is by far my favorite variation of a lateral raise, and I don't think it can be beat. Where the cable lateral raise really excels, the only thing that it misses is where the rotation of the movement comes from. Because it is anchored at your waist across your body, you reach a certain point in the movement where it stops being perfectly directed down against the deltoid. You're still feeling resistance because there is that constant tension, but you're not getting it at the axis that the shoulder rotates at. The Multiflight is designed to fix this perfectly. Because the Multiflight arm rotates around a fixed point at your shoulder level, you are able to feel constant tension at every inch of the range of motion in the direction that the deltoid is trying to move. So if you are at 90 degrees, you still have the same amount of constant tension as you do at 0. You have the same amount at 150 degrees, and so on and so forth. This is perfectly mimicking what the shoulder is trying to do at every degree, which is why it feels so incredible. I've had the Temple of Gains Multiflight in my gym for about a year now, and in that time, I haven't done a single lateral raise with another piece of equipment. All of it goes through the Multiflight because, number one, it feels better than anything. The constant tension at every inch cannot be beat, in my opinion. And the second reason is because it's already its own station and ready to go, I'm able to jump into lateral raises at any point in time. You could say the same thing about dumbbells, but if you have an adjustable set, you've always got to adjust that weight back to whatever the lateral raise is. If you have a fixed set, great, you can jump right to it. But again, it's just one of those things where when you have a station that is dedicated to it, the tension feels perfect throughout the movement and is so inviting to do. You'll find yourself being able to mix these in even on days where you aren't necessarily dedicated specifically to shoulders. By far, my highest recommendation, if you have the space and the budget for it, is the Temple of Gains Multiflight. There are other companies doing multi-flights. If you don't have that budget or the space, you can do rack-mounted variations. A lot of these are plate-loaded and they work quite well. There are other variations coming out. I think Bulletproof has one that's going to be integrated with a multi-flight or something that you can add to a Vultra, but suffice it to say, the multi-flight is the best variation of a lateral raise that you can add to a home gym. So I'd love to know what your guys' take is on these movements. Are there any other variations that you prefer or that you are using regularly in your gym? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will catch you again in the next one.